Let's move on to the latest scraper in your arsenal, and the Storm SS. I'm assuming a lot of the things we've talked about with the Cyclone could transfer over to the Storm as well. But tell us a little bit about the Storm. Again, what market demands forced you to create that, and what features and benefits separate that from a Cyclone or other battery scrapers on the market?
I guess the Storm SS is, I think that's one of our greatest achievements. We've a lot of our equipment, especially in the very beginnings of OEM products, we would build a machine and we'd throw it out there, let the industry do the testing, and that worked well for us in 98, 99, and 2000. But in our world right now, people really don't appreciate helping you prototype equipment. So the Storm SS was a development over about three and a half years. Started out with a regular DC motor in there, and it performed really well. We were trying to hit a price point. We were trying to hit a physical size. We were trying to compete with a certain model of machine out there, trying to get that look, feel, and smell of another machine that's out there. And I think we did all of that, but then we looked at the machine when we got done, and man, there's so many things we can do to this to make it better. And so we changed the battery style, we changed the battery placement, we got our weight down lower, where somebody else's machine out there maybe have a little bit easier tipping point. We put all of our batteries, except for two, down right, 2.5, 3 inches off the floor, so we get a low center of gravity. And then we started working on tooling, our tool placement, our tool changing, and then we thought, okay, well, we need to do something different on our speed, but we were very limited on our speed because of using a DC motor in there that just turns 1 RPM. You're kind of working around that 1 RPM. So we were forced, as they say, to go into a variable speed motor, pretty much the same motor that we use on the Cyclone machine. It's a lot beefier motor than we really wanted to go with. This thing can actually put out about 20 horsepower, where the DC motor we were replacing with it had about 6. So we were thinking that we were going way overkill, and it turns out it was a very good decision to do that. It's a very clean system, and we can actually hook a computer up to that rascal, and we can tell it, okay, we don't want you to turn the same RPM that the DC motor is turning. We want you to go faster. So with turning that pump faster, we can make the machine travel faster, and we can dial that in. And again, it's a variable speed, so a guy can use it like a throttle to slowly, turn the motor slower, so we can travel into an environment without being too aggressive. And then once we get into the environment of the flooring removal, then we can turn it up and go. But that, again, that was developed over a period of a couple of years. And again, we have that ability to monitor exactly how many amp hours are we putting in the battery pack. We can monitor how many are coming out. So we'll look at our battery state of charge meter, and it says, okay, you've got 50% of your fuel left. And then whenever we plug it into a charger, that charger is going through that same mechanism that tells that instrumentation there that, hey, we're putting fuel back in, we're putting amp hours back in, and we'll count it. So whenever it says it's 100% full, it's 100% full of fuel, not just bringing a voltage back up. So then we realized at some point that whenever we first started throwing those machines out there to customers, we had a onboard charger that was what we thought was very sufficient. And then we would also send with that machine a 220 volt charger, and we loved it whenever people would use that. But in the environments that we're throwing those machines in, you're just not able to get 208 or 220 on a job site. So we backed off of trying to push that off on people and force them to use it. And we started installing 210-volt chargers on every storm that ships. So they can plug one of those in on one circuit in a room and then run a cord over to find another, an additional separate 110-volt circuit, plug it into the other. Now you're not going to get double the charge rate. You're going to get about 30% faster charge rate with two than you would with one. But what's really nice about that is at the end of a week or two, and you have a customer says, look, for some reason, we're not charging fast like we used to, or maybe the machine doesn't perform for as long as it used to. So we can go in there and look at all those charge cycles. And, we can look at a couple of hundred charge cycles and say, okay, well, your guys are plugging it in for 1 hour and then they unplug it. So they're killing your batteries. Or, okay, this thing ran for 4 hours and then it tripped a breaker because the AC power was disconnected. Or, all those things that come up and help us diagnose why is the machine not performing as well as it was a week ago. So I guess the most appealing thing between the storm versus the cyclone is on the cyclone, because there is 12 batteries versus 8 on the storm. The seat is about 6 inches higher from the floor than the storm is. So a lot of operators get fatigued, maybe getting up and on and off and changing blades and things. They don't like that. So they like the storm. So a little lower profile, and we can't match the the hours of runtime on that the cyclone has on the storm, but we can get fairly close. We can't match the speed. We can get fairly close. We can probably get to 240, 250 feet per minute consistently on the Storm SS versus the 300 on the Cyclone.
And I'm assuming everything we talked about with opportune charging not being good, 800 amp hours, all that is the same on the Storm as it is on the Cyclone?
This opportunity charging is just as damaging to the Storm as it is the Cyclone. But the Storm is a 400 amp hour battery size. But because we are using, the higher the voltage is, it does run a little bit more efficient on the electric motors. And because it is half of the amp hours, if you mix the half of amp hours and you throw in there a little bit different voltage between the two machines, we're able to eke out a pretty good runtime on those. And worst case scenario, 5 hours. But we've seen up to 8 hours of runtime. So whenever we're talking to somebody, you're going to get 6 hours of runtime pretty consistently out of that machine. And you can do a lot of square footage in 6 hours.
Absolutely. Same type of applications with a Storm on a Cyclone. You can still do some hard goods with it, maybe not quite as fast, but still capable of doing the tile and the hardwood.
Yeah, the Storm is just as an aggressive machine. You can really get aggressive on some of the wood flooring. You can back up and hit it. Hit it pretty hard, just like you can with the Cyclone. But again, that the weight difference is 200 or 300 pounds, so that does give you a little bit more down pressure, a little bit more pressure on the rear tires for some traction, and we do have some removable weight on the Storm, so you can bring it down to about 2,100 pounds to get it into some elevators where it's a little bit tougher to get that Cyclone into those 2,500 pound elevators without taking some batteries out of it.
Anything else on the Storm that a contractor who's shopping to buy a new battery scraper, and any information that would help him in the purchasing decision?
The tooling on the Storm SS is a lot easier to change, you just pull a little lever. You can pull a 4-inch blade bar out and throw a 6-inch. You can pull a 6-inch out and throw a 12-inch in a matter of seconds versus the Cyclone, which has a 24-inch blade bar, or you can remove a few bolts and pull it off and put an 8-inch blade bar in there. But the Storm SS is the only machine that comes standard with that quick change tooling, and then it has a completely separate style for the ceramic tile tooth that you can put on in just 15 seconds or so. Pop those in. So that makes that a really nice machine for quick changing any tools if you need to, or actually flipping a blade over. You can just lift the machine up and flip that blade bar over with your foot and go back to work.